design is so important to what we do. Drawing, the vision, and that kind of stuff is core to what we do. So then that goes to the developer. So now imagine if the design, let's say a client takes 2 weeks to get back to you. Now your design is pushed all the way over here. You can't start on the development until after that. So everything potentially needs to be pushed back. Everything that depended on the development. So if you have a launch campaign, social media, all this stuff. So this is what we have to constantly do with our clients is say, okay, well, it's taking you a long time to get back to us. So we're updating you on a weekly basis. We update our clients and we say it's going to take us until the end of next month to actually, be able to get this to you now. And here's why. It's not us. And so this is one of the most important things for us is communicating, when something's happening and why something's happening. So tips and tricks, and then we'll go into questions. Unity with a little game engine and very little coding, and SketchUp, we were able to do. Basically, I get my interns and people that kind of work with me to do 3D modeling and fun game stuff. So this was a project with a couple of interns, and it's on its way. I mean, it's the whole engine. In fact, if I could restart it. This is Unity, and like I said, this outputs. We got models from SketchUp. We modeled this in SketchUp, and then we just imported it in. SketchUp is a free 3D software. Unity's free until you want to export to iPhone or Android. So, and we designed this ourselves, and it's on its way. But that's a tip. Look at these compilers. I think Adobe's getting into this too. Probably already have, but I think I saw hearing some even like Flash, you can export an app now.
Well, didn't they buy PhoneGap?
What?
Didn't Adobe buy PhoneGap?
They bought the, I think they didn't actually buy PhoneGap, but they bought the company that was making PhoneGap, I think Natobi or something.
Yeah,
but now they have
that.
Adobe Edge, which they're just starting to re-promote. I noticed just the past week.
They probably
they're
bought,
fixing to go on a. They're fixing to go on a push, and I don't know where it'll go, but they've got a lot of smart people over there, and
yeah,
a lot of great products. We'll see. Flash kind of gave them a little bit of a black eye, I think, as far as their web presence goes.
So Gantt charts. Ganter is what Google's is called. I checked that out. Tom's Planner that we use is it's not really a high-tech one. It's really simple. It doesn't do any of the auto dependency stuff. We have to do it all, but it looks good for our clients, and we like to give reports that look good, and that's more important than us than being organized with a Gantt chart. But we also have a good milestone system in Basecamp that we use. And Titanium, build once and then publish in many places is the name of the game. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried because we do Objective-C in Java that maybe we should have just been doing Java. That I should have just been doing JavaScript over the last 5 years and just did what you guys are doing, using PhoneGap and Titanium just to publish all these apps that do exactly the same thing. But I haven't seen that yet because it's hard. It's very difficult to do some very customized stuff. When dealing with video editing, that have to be viewing a video, recording a video, and finding a place in a video on an app. It's very complicated unless you're, it's very complicated anyway, but it's incredible in the layered, kind of factors out some of the stuff that you can actually do. So anyway, I won't get into that too much, but and then this is just I just left some stuff from my old presentation on there. So, any questions?
Well, it feels like getting ultimately to the experience for the user that it's native on their device seems to be really a key concept, especially if they're going to pay for the app, that it just feels like it belongs there. Do you find that when you take and design something, are you needing Java or Objective-C or C++ to really deliver a native feel app, or can you use the developer kits and technology we're learning, which is the mobile?
I think it's easy to do it poorly on anything, and you can get it to look great on every PhoneGap. I do think you can get it to look good.
It's kind of function.
But, in terms, I know it's hard to get it to be flawless with, with memory issues and all this stuff we have to deal with. It's really hard to have a perfect app, and that's what we try to do every time. We want the user experience to flow, we want to have thought through everything, and it just requires tons of work. And so I've seen it done really well with PhoneGap. I'm not sure what the difference and how much more hard it is in PhoneGap than in native, because I mostly in native. But it's hard, you have to be detail oriented. You gotta look at every transition if you want something as you speak of. So, I mean, the interface, getting that designed in Photoshop is so important. That could be half of everything. And the flow, how PhoneGap functions, how it outputs stuff normally can be a huge part of it. I don't have much experience with PhoneGap though. But I know Titanium does a very good job turning out smooth apps too. So, and it works very similarly.
Seems to me that we're going through a transition right now. I mean, there's something like 500 million websites out there, but when you look at where mobile's going, I mean, everything is going to have to switch over to mobile.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the stuff on websites really doesn't translate well to mobile apps. So, are you starting to see much of this happening out there?
Yeah, I think they're talking about mobile being a really good time to get into mobile development, especially for the stuff that we do, like where we don't necessarily, we're not trying to do a restaurant's mobile app. That's probably still a year or so off where everybody has mobile apps, but like more corporate people are coming around to it. A lot of people are saying we're going to equip our sales team with an iPad. The classrooms are starting to understand the power of being able to have back channels and tools for being able to record live podcasts, and all this stuff that is really happening, and all these different corporate and kind of middle tier environments where we can get larger projects. And that's really where we're focused on. So yeah, and then third world countries. I do a podcast called Spark Tech Talk, and I interviewed a guy named Michael Wilkerson from Uganda, and he said, we were talking about technology, and he was like, really, this is a story of not having that much technology, because he's basically working in business in a social enterprise over there. But he's saying one thing that the African countries do is e-commerce directly on their phone. Boom, they're not afraid to put over some money to pay for a taxi driver or anything. They're way on top of it. So QR codes hit Britain years before we even did anything about it. So they're all over there, and even the fad's dying off a little bit. So you can see now maybe what's going to happen in a couple years here. So a lot of the other countries, they have amazing adoption rates, and since we're probably at 60% smartphone users in America, and you take any specific audience, if you take the Democratic National Convention or the RNC or any of these different ones, I bet 90% of the folks are, even in that audience of older folks, they're probably 90%, just because more affluent people are much more likely to have it than people that, don't have enough money to put over for an iPhone. I almost feel like I'm in that category right now. I have to get the new iPhone 5. So, One other thing I just wanted to do, and maybe I'll just have a sheet here, but I'm doing beta testing a mobile and a web new startup in Asheville. And I wanted to invite anyone that would be a beta tester, to help me out with this to sign up and just put your email and your name and any information. That's actually enough information. Maybe just that's enough information. Maybe if you say what you do, your profession or something like that. But I'd love to get you guys feedback on this app. It's a friend of mine. It's basically called Maestro, and it's like being able to collect links, and then we're able to look at it in an iframe basically, and then you can. So I can have several links open at the same time in different iframes. I can open this and it'll expand, and basically really basically like bookmarking site. And one of the things I'm trying to do is get a whole bunch of collections and real content in there, and also test out what the issues and bugs are. So I'm just looking for people that don't mind going through, using it as if it was, really something they want to, building collections. You can have a public collection, a private collection. We're hoping it's the next Pinterest, but we'd be fine with even, a tenth of the size of that. Even $100 million would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Since Pinterest is worth $1.5 billion.
Cash out.
Yeah, I'm going to cash out. Once it's
Instagram was
worth
smart.
$2 million.
cash out.
No, I mean, I would cash.
Even top Instagram is the largest mobile startup.
I'm going for that. I'm shooting for that. Yeah.
That's
This
what
is not
everyone
my.
does last.
This is not my app though. I mean, I bet if he did really well, he'd give me, some money. But
Nice red Ferrari or something.
yeah, that would be nice. I'd probably sell the Ferrari and then spend the money on something else. But any other questions?
I guess for demand, Objective-C versus Java, I'm guessing there's more Java programmers out there, and if you're looking for doing both, is it easier to find Java programmers than it is Objective-C? You're starting to
Well,
language,
there's
would you?
well, Java is enterprise level software for web. A lot of Java. Java is huge. So many different places, and I'm sure Apple would have gone with Java if they didn't want to kind of be proprietary in what they were doing. I think that was kind of on purpose. But doing mobile Android is very specific too, because you have to use the SDK and you have to. So Java developers don't necessarily cross over, and it's very similar to like kind of Flash, where you have to think about the interface and place stuff and almost do styling, and I think you have to kind of have more than one person to build a mobile app. You have to have a designer, you have to have a programmer, and you might even have to have a designer and somebody to help place the design in, and even more people depending on how big the app is. But Java is basically very specific for Android and for the mobile side of things. So if you wanted to learn Java, that would be great, because then you could do web, then you could do all this other stuff, you could do Android. But doing specifically for Android, there's a lot fewer Java programmers. But it's coming up. iPhone, Objective-C, I've seen probably about the same number as Android. So that's the short answer.
But I think Java might have more of a weight, like on server side,
Yeah.
programming. Whereas Objective-C, if the App Store craze kind of dies down, and iOS App Store isn't quite doing as well as it is now, I think Objective-C, you might have a harder time still finding work. If you. But whereas with Java, I think you can. There's work in a lot of places.
Well, and my fear is that, like I said, and it's not really a fear. I would be able to get through it, but just that this is all going to JavaScript, and
That's your fear. That's what.
Yeah, that's what we're
No,
hoping.
That's what we're hoping
Yeah.
for. But part of the thing.
No, I'm actually happy. I'll be happy with you guys, because AB Tech, I've been a big advocate for you guys to get a mobile division, and I'm so glad that you have it. but, that would position, because I really would like for AB Tech to teach Drupal, is what the web tool that we use.
And we're bringing that in, actually.
Really?
Yeah, like 2013, 14, we're gonna bring in a
Woo!
content management systems class, and Drupal, I think, is gonna be the one to focus
And
on.
then I think you guys should also do iPhone and Android.
And that's
Yeah.
things that I
But-
have on my plate to take care of.
Yeah, but-
today, is,
Yeah, and as long as we got an advocate, but it's gonna be difficult for, and that's why you have to go out and do some of this stuff afterwards, programming. I mean, I learned all my programming from after school, because I went for digital media, which wasn't, you know, hardcore programming. I had to geek out for years. And, so this is the, sign up for the, beta testing.
Would you like to know what platform we're using? What kind?
Oh, yeah, that would actually be a good question. As far as, you think mobile platform?
Yeah, like, are you using iOS or are you using?
Well, it's a web too, so
Uh,
anybody's allowed to sign up. But I will put that in there.
How do you see the competing platforms performing in the marketplace? I think one is really gonna push the other aside, or are they both long-term viable? iOS versus Android?
Yeah, I'm surprised that there's not other people in the market, really, strongly. I'm surprised that BlackBerry did so miserably, and not so much surprised because of the company, but surprised of their market advantage up front. I think that there should be another, even though Google is open source and it's a platform that many different platforms can run on it, I think I think because of IP stuff, it's really hard to, but I think there should be other operating systems. And I think that's a problem with the IP. This whole Samsung iPhone thing is just ridiculous. And I don't like, I'm more of an open source person. I like sharing code and sharing cancer cures and making that necessary, you know, that kind of stuff. But for open source, Google's not bad, and it runs a lot of different phones. That's the competition. I mean, they don't get too much money from these. They just needed a major competitor versus iPhone, and they had to have market dominance. So that's what Google did. iPhone 5, you know, record sales, and they're gonna. It's Apple. I mean, they, you know, huge design, you know, huge shift in how we think, you know, about design, and I don't know that Apple's going to continue to develop innovative new things, but iPhone's definitely around for the long haul. I mean, I think stuff like maps, you know, have really been important, is why Google is, you know, able to get into that space, and I think iPhone missing a map, you know, using TomTom and these other little things to put their map together, I think they're going to have to get serious with that, otherwise they're going to be losing market share again. And Google's so good at, you know, dominating all these different spaces. They're going after telecom now, and so I hope there's more competition, but I bet we'll see the same players, but maybe somebody else will emerge, and Windows 7 probably will stick in. What happens is you start having politics, and somebody's against Google, so they have to partner with somebody else. So the only iPhone? No, there's another one, you know, because sometime you're going to have too many political people, so you have to partner. Like Yahoo has been around this long because, you know, people partner with it because it's not Google. You know.
Shockingly enough, Yahoo still hangs in there.
Yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar
I like what Yahoo's doing now with their new CEO.
But yeah, they have a new thing, and I mean, you know, Windows. Well, and to me, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, to me, one of the only ones I feel like they could jump right in there. Of course, Windows. I think you're right. Just for the capital they put behind everything, just like Bing's still in there. I mean, Windows Phone 7 will be in there. Facebook's given up on the phone idea. I don't think they'll go there. I think they'll move into search. But Amazon could jump into the game. That's one other company that could, I think.
Mozilla's
I'd
talking about it.
really like to see Facebook fail, just because of how miserably they are doing in the mobile space. I'd love to see somebody else. Like a better.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Facebook had a phone, It's just like you get into the phone market and you're competing with everybody all at the same time, and it's so hard because there's only a couple of players, AT&T, Verizon, at that level, and then you can only work through those. So it's kind of like too many monopolies and too much like control. And I think that they should open up that to allow for more innovative. Like I have an idea for a phone, but if I wanted to do it, patent wise and working with the right company and everything, phone laws, FCC, all the different complications of it. I mean, it's why it took so long to do it. Apple basically just had the right politics, the BMA and the music people were worried about any device that could play a lot of music. That's why BlackBerry failed, basically, is because they couldn't plug into music well.
Yeah.
So, and that was Apple's whole angle. So, well, cool. I have, and if I will post like a little flyer requesting other beta testers, and there's a good idea about what mobile platform. Droid. All droids. I'm not going to show you guys what phone I have. You probably guessed. I have an iPhone, but
It's okay, we won't throw rocks in this.
yeah. My project manager.
Now,
is
Josh was there. We do have an iPhone there. He's not here. I think he had to work this morning, but Josh.
Well, Apple. I see an iPad and I see a Mac. And
Yeah, and I actually doubt the long-term relevancy of Android because Google's not making money on it, and they're spending a lot of money on it, and owning Motorola. If I was Samsung looking at getting stung fighting with my biggest client, I'd look over at Google and say, well, they're making phones too. I'm gonna come out with my own. I mean, Symbian came and went.
well, Symbian's still the biggest. I mean, in third world. I mean, over the world, still one of the biggest
I have a
platform.
Sony Ericsson 900. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft is investing in Nokia, so I mean, they're not gonna give up that easily. I mean, they're still in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just so hard to chisel in too after everybody's got their 12-month contracts with Verizon.
Yeah, and a lot of people might have had Verizon, like Android phones, before Verizon even,
Yeah.
picked up the iPhone too. I mean, I know, like,
Oh, yeah.
whether I want an iPhone or not, I'm gonna have to wait till it's kind of May to get it because I'm under contract with my HTC until
Well, it's
May.
9/10, so I think we've actually passed maybe.
Oh yeah,
a lot
no,
of
that's
time.
great. Hey, we're
Okay.
good.